Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a concept that's honestly a little bizarre, but absolutely brilliant. We're unpacking a single descriptive prompt for an animation that mashes up whimsical character design with hyper-accurate science. It's literally a masterclass in visual storytelling, so let's just jump right in.
Okay, let's dive into this. Just take a second to soak in the sheer density of this premise. We're talking about a cute, realistic kiwi fruit, complete with expressive cartoon eyes and tiny little limbs, navigating the incredibly complex terrain of the human body. The journey goes from the digestive tract all the way down to the immune system, surrounded by glowing cells, and it's all rendered in stunningly high detail. I mean, it's a lot to process, right? Which is exactly why we're going to break it down piece by piece.
What we have here is this wild visual tension. On one hand, you've got our protagonist, this whimsical, super expressive kiwi with tiny arms and legs. It's pure, imaginative character design. But then, right next to it, ultra-realistic, highly detailed human anatomy. The creator is intentionally smashing together the playful innocence of a cartoon with the rigorous, grounded reality of medical science. Honestly, there's just something inherently funny about a piece of breakfast fruit going on an epic, dramatic medical adventure. But it's that exact friction that makes the whole idea so compelling.
And get this, our little kiwi isn't just passively floating along. The phrasing specifically says it's walking confidently. By injecting that very specific personality trait into, well, a piece of fruit, it transforms what could have been a super dry clinical biology lesson into a really captivating narrative journey. Our protagonist isn't just taking a tour, they're strutting right into the unknown.
Let's move on and see how this builds a literal, step-by-step biological progression. The journey kicks off at the mouth, heads down to the stomach, and pushes through the intestines. From there, it crosses a major threshold, leaving those massive macro organs behind, diving straight into the bloodstream, and finally arriving at the sheer complexity of the immune system.
So, let's focus on the first half of that trip, the digestive descent. The mouth, stomach, intestines. Just picture your own internal biology for a second. Imagine transforming those churning organs into a massive, traversable landscape for our confident little kiwi. To put that into perspective, if you uncoiled your intestines, they'd be about 20 feet long. That is an absolutely epic trek for a tiny piece of fruit. Starting with the larger anatomy we already recognize really gives us a physical grounding before things get, frankly, totally wild.
Because once we leave those intestines, everything shifts. We're not in the macro world anymore. We're stepping right into the microscopic universe. The explainer transitions away from those larger fleshy organs into the microscopic wonders of the bloodstream and the immune system. The scale literally drops down to the cellular level, and the visual potential, it just explodes. We're essentially trading the fleshy walls of the stomach for a rushing river of biological data.
And wow, what a river it is! Glowing cells. Just let that image settle in your mind for a second. The source leans heavily into these rich, sensory adjectives. By describing the cells as glowing, it completely flips the environment from some dark, anatomical void into something wondrous and illuminated. It paints this vivid, almost neon picture in your mind, totally capturing the absolute awe of the inner body.
So what exactly makes up this glowing universe? Well, our confident kiwi is completely surrounded by red blood cells, vitamins, and all sorts of microscopic structures just floating on by. By zeroing in on these recognizable elements, all this dense, complex biology suddenly becomes so much easier to digest. You're not just reading a textbook about the immune system, you're watching a cute kiwi literally march past giant vitamins and red blood cells.
What's really interesting about this is how the environment perfectly sets the tone for the whole world. It's specifically described as colorful, educational, and futuristic. It beautifully bridges pure entertainment with real, solid educational value. So it isn't just a cartoon, but it's definitely not a boring medical textbook either. It's a futuristic setting custom-built for biological exploration, really making you feel like an explorer right alongside our fruit friend.
Now, to actually pull off that exact tone, you need a very specific technical aesthetic. We're talking about high-end, cinematic, and futuristic design. Because, it's one thing to just imagine a kiwi in the bloodstream, it's an entirely different beast to render that world so it feels both scientifically accurate and visually breathtaking. Let's look at the specific visual specs required to actually bring this vibrant universe to life.
To make this happen, the parameters explicitly call for ultra-realistic CGI, 3D animation, and Pixar-quality character design, all set against highly detailed human anatomy. There's that masterful juxtaposition again. You've got this top-tier, Pixar-quality animation for our expressive fruit sitting completely seamlessly right next to ultra-realistic human biology. It demands literally the highest tier of digital artistry to make two completely opposing styles look natural in the exact same frame.
And the camera and lighting techniques, they're equally intense. We're looking at cinematic lighting, volumetric lighting, smooth camera movements, and HDR with incredibly vibrant colors. If you're wondering, volumetric lighting basically means you'd actually see visible shafts of light interacting with the microscopic particles, like a literal ray of light highlighting a floating vitamin. These techniques, especially the HDR and those smooth camera pans, elevate the whole thing from a static scientific model into a truly immersive cinematic experience. It makes the microscopic world feel absolutely grand and epic.
And all of this culminates in one massive, mind-boggling technical requirement: 8K resolution. That means capturing every single tiny volumetric detail, every expressive blink of our kiwi's eyes, and the exact texture of a glowing cell with absolute mind-bending clarity. It pushes digital artistry to its absolute limit for sure, but it guarantees that this micro-hero's epic adventure is as crisp, vivid, and hyper-detailed as technologically possible.
Which brings us to a final, really fascinating thought for today's explainer. If our complex internal biology can be explored and made this incredibly engaging by a confident cartoon kiwi fruit, what other microscopic worlds are out there waiting for a cinematic 8K makeover? Just imagine exploring the inner workings of a plant cell or the microscopic architecture of a computer microchip, treated with this exact same blend of educational rigor and Pixar-quality wonder. The potential here is just limitless, and it completely reshapes how we might learn about the unseen worlds around and inside us. Thanks so much for hanging out with me on this deep dive, and keep that curiosity glowing.